What's up YouTube? So today I'm just going to show you a quick video on how to repair your lug nuts if you have issues with the socket fitting because the damn tire place just mingled the hell out of them. Okay, so just to get you by before you have to buy actual lug nuts, which could cost you like $100 and up for the OEM, and I recommend buying OEM because there's a major difference between the aftermarket and the OEM. The aftermarket ones usually aren't exactly the correct lug nuts because the chamfer here and then the diameter here are different just because China's trying to skimp. And if they're not a reputable lug nut, that's something to keep in mind. Now I'll show you some images of what I'm talking about. Okay, so for those who have issues with their lug nuts not working, so as you can see, this one goes in flush. There's a major difference between this one and this one, including the acorn area here and the length of this. And the reason why this got deformed is because this is a two-part lug. So you got the inner size that's solid, and then you have a sleeve that went over for a beauty cap. They do this so that way they could use inferior products on the inside and then your nicer finish on the outside. And when this thing gets mangled up, it's because this starts ballooning and separating from the inner lug. I had to change out these, and I can't use these new ones just because they're not the right dimensions. I'll show you those images with the numbers. But this right here has been messed up. So it got deformed. So just to get me by, I got this file here and basically keeping everything squared up and filing it down until those measurements meet about 21.25 millimeters. And then I constantly check it with the socket to see if I could get it down. So as you can see, the bottom half is what ballooned out. The top half is undersized, so it slides on fine. But without me tapping this, it won't seat all the way down. This will work for now, but I want it to be perfect. So what I'm gonna do is just take the file and keep filing the bottom until it's all squared up. And the reason for that is because when they tighten this, they tightened it, and as it tightened, this area's open-ended, so this would be the first thing to flare open versus the top, because as you can see, it's a full cap. And then they fuse them together, the internal with this beauty cover. So just a quick note, when you sand your lug nuts, if they're sleeved like mine are, where they got an overcoat over the internal stud or hex, as you can see, there's a crack right there and a crack right there, and just two on these two sides because I had to sand it down that thin in order to get the nut thin enough to fit the socket on it. But that's one consideration to think about when doing lug nut sanding, is if it's not a solid lug nut like these are not, you might have some delamination right there because I had to sand it too thin. So another problem is mine came with the wheel lock, and as you can see, this wheel lock is not anywhere close to what this profile is here. So that's another thing to consider when running wheel locks. As you can see, I just have this conical shape, the cone on it, but there's no structural support nor washer on this. This is how I bought it from the dealer though, from Carmack, so that's what it came with, is this one. So just keep that in mind, is the wheel lock one is not matching the standard ones, but since it's one out of all of them, it shouldn't be that bad, especially because it's hub centric or pretty close to it. This should just be able to keep it up against the thing, and these will bear most of the load. And then that conical shape will also bear some of that load because it's the same on the actual rim itself. So here's the stock spare for the stock rims. This is a 17-inch rim. This area that you're losing out on, but also it's a 17-inch rim, which it's noted right there. These are 18 inches and they barely fit those large calipers. This is the sports package version, and this is an 18-inch rim, which is exactly the size of my stock ones. And it says right here 18. Okay, so it's going to be needed if you decide to use the stock, if you buy the base model with the stock rims and you're upgrading with the sports package disc brake rotor and caliper. You're going to need to upgrade this because, as you can see how thin this section is in here, and then how much of this is taken up by the rim, it just won't fit. Even on the backside it won't fit, and the backside has the smaller calipers. Another thing you're going to have to consider is when running the spare tire, the sports package one, the stud that bolts down into the middle of this, it's not long enough for the rim. For whatever reason, the depth is slightly different, so you're going to need a new stud, and then the new center foam piece that goes here to support this, that round donut. You need the sports package one. For me, since I have a 3D printer, I'm going to 3D print the stud with the bolt, and then I'm going to 3D print the spacer and everything all in one, so I could just tighten it with that, and it's going to double as a support for that, just because I have a 3D printer. If you're interested in a conversion like that, let me know, and reach out to me, and I'll definitely hit you up on that. So here's what the stock donut looks like for the sports package. As you can see, we have ample amount of gap here. I'll test it on the front just to double check, but that's why this is needed. With the stock one here, this bulge is like right in this area, and this gap here is already hitting on the caliper right in there. So you need one of these. This is going to be on eBay about $200, and I think like up to like 300 or 400, which is probably about how much it will cost new. Just keep that in mind. So this whole setup looks like it's hub centric as well, or pretty close to it, because there is no gap here on this one. Which is super nice. I doubt that's the case with this one. It has a rolled lip here, but I don't think it's hub centric. I can't get my calipers in here because it hits this bulge. This area is just too short. But this one here looks really good, and I can't fit that on to test it just because it pushes it out. So just to give you some context, as you can see, this is sideways right here, and it's close right there, but I can't get it to sit flush because it's pushing it out right on this side. So that's as close as I could get it. It looks pretty close to hub centric, but I can't tell you 100% the clearance, just because it is cockeyed, so of course it's going to look like it's close here. This is what I mean, is I can't fit the calipers in here. It hits on this side. Same thing on the front. And even eyeballing it, you're looking at like 2.5 inches, but that's not exact. So I need smaller calipers. These are 8 inches. For those of you who are wondering what the hub size is, it's 2.599 inches. And then in millimeters, it's 66 millimeters. And some change, but I think it's 66. There's some paint flake and rust here, so that's what it looks like. So this is what it looks like on the front driver's side tire side. You have about a ½ inch gap here or somewhat, and then of course it looks like it's hub centric as well. And this is a 18-inch rim which fits here. The base model ones are 18-inch rims, but this is made for a 19-inch sports model package. They make it up in the tire height because this is a 70 right here. My tire is a 50 on the stock one for the front. So it's a stock 50, but this will get me closer to running level. Sometimes they sit a little bit lower than the actual rims, just because they need to fit in the back of your vehicle. Keep in mind when putting this rim on your front side, is it has this stud that sticks out that needs to go into this pocket. So that pocket is made for that. If it doesn't, this rim isn't going to sit flat and you're going to think it's not going to fit. So it needs to actually sit inside that void for it to work. So this rim wasn't from a 370Z, it was from a Q series model. But G35 370Z or G37 370Z, the Q series Infinity stuff is all the same for the most part, except for the years, certain years, they had the same exact rim, but instead of an 18, they actually had a 17-inch rim. So be aware of that. Is just because it looks the same doesn't mean it's the right height. So you need the 18 for the 370 or anything with these big Nissan Akebono brakes. So for those of you who are wondering if the rear tire could fit on the front, it cannot. As you can see, it'd be nice. It would have some poke, but that's only because it doesn't sit flush in here. If you look right here, there's a gap. So it would be really close to this wall, which would look nice, super deep. But the problem is, it's not the rim not fitting. Everything has clearance. It's the fact that when you take this wheel off, this stud is hitting into these pockets, not allowing it to sit deep enough. So it's about an 1/8 inch too shallow, these pockets. They need to be deeper because of this. You might be able just to get rid of this, maybe grind it down here, like take off this little sleeve, grind it down. You might even need to take some off of the bolt itself and then make that sleeve shorter, and then you might be able to get a rear tire on for the front if you want all fours to match. So that way you could do tire rotation between the front and the back. That's the only reason why I'd see that you would want them all to match, is for tire rotation, since the front tire is narrower than the back. So that might be something I'll look into. So for those who are wondering what the stud is, that's what keeps this brake disc up against our fix, because there's a slight gap here. So it keeps everything in position for you to bolt everything together without it flopping back and forth. And then of course when the rim goes in, the rim sandwiches everything together, sturdy and flush. So this could definitely be something to alter. I wouldn't take it out completely, but I would be thinking about shortening it up if you wanted to change out that rim style and maybe fit the larger rim in there, providing that it clears your fender wells as well. So even though you do this mod, you might want to check to make sure the steering covers, like everything has clearance all the way around in the front and the back, because it is a wider tire.